So we're live. That is exciting. So welcome to the first Dansk Modular live stream, where a couple of the very regular people at our meetups and stuff have agreed to show up and talk about our the cases, the modular cases we do, and how we patch up stuff and stuff like this. This is the first time that we do this. It'll probably be well, it's pretty sure it will be horribly hosted by me and the two guys that I persuaded to come in and explain. I'll probably mistreat them badly, but bear with us in these times that are really crazy and also quite boring at times. We thought it might be a good idea to try this out. So for this live stream, I've invited Ada and Konstantin in. Hi guys. Today Ada will be without his, and these guys are really prolific modularists and have been part of Dansk Modular for ages. So Ada is actually, as far as I know, a trained pianist, jazz pianist, but he's also a prolific YouTuber, but also a Celotti coder and an ER301 magician. He's been doing a lot of live performances. I would characterize Ada's work as a melodic modular thing. And of well, the past 9 or 10 months, Ada has also been a very prolific. So on YouTube, you can find a lot of Ada's live performed modular patches, and they. This is a small snippet. So
and now for something completely different.
and oh, did you hear anything I said? Sorry.
Nope.
Oh, you didn't. That's cool. Okay.
The first time. Good with the territory.
Okay, now we're right. Okay, so you heard my introduction from of Ada until we posted the video.
Including the video, everything was fine. But as soon as your face disappeared, actually after the video, the voice went down. I got panicked a bit. I was trying to think if I did something wrong here.
No. It's only so this. Well, 4 minutes in, we had the first major breakdown. But okay, so I was actually, what I did the last 2 minutes was introducing you, Konstantin. And also explaining, for instance, that you are a Modular Grid admin, Muff Wiggler admin. You've been collaborating with SDS, EDAC, Shackmac, and Latic, amongst others. You're also a local Scandinavian, or is it a Copenhagen powwow ambassador?
Yeah.
So I would characterize the stuff you do on the modular. Well, you do a lot of different stuff that I've rarely seen. You approach modular a bit differently than most of us, and in a very interesting way, I think. So thank you for showing up for this experiment, guys. Cool. So we actually have. I can actually. This is fun. So we're trying out a new piece of software, and we can actually we can see your comments, and we can answer. I'm just going to try it out here. Can you also, Konstantin and Ada, can you see the live comments also? Maybe not.
No.
I'll try to keep an eye out for that.
Like this, yeah, cool.
Okay, yeah. So we'll try to answer. If you have some, you'll probably have better questions than me. So I was thinking, Konstantin's device actually seems to be removed. Maybe he'll be. Oh, he's online again. And maybe we should start with you.
Yeah.
And let me see. We can. There we go. Who is Ed? Well, maybe you can add on to my introduction a little bit, and then go over your case. So why is it organized like it is? What modules do you have in there, and what's your favorite approach when you pass something up? And then maybe give us a small example of what it can do, your modular rig.
Yeah, well, that was a lot of questions. I think your description and the introduction of me was fine. I am a piano player, and I'm not sure how much this affects my modular approach, but I tend to like melody a lot, and or I would actually say that I have a problem making music without melody. I can appreciate music without melody, but I just have a crush on a melody. Yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah.
Should I briefly go over the case?
That would be a great idea. Yeah.
Actually, it's actually 4 cases. Can we see that? I should. A little bit like this. Well, so this lower left case here is what I think of as my main case or my live case. So if I only can bring one case, I bring this one, and the others are supposed to be add-ons. They're not that well organized at the moment, but yeah, someday maybe. Generally. Well, okay, so first, this case is very cramped as a live case. So maybe we start up here. There's some input and output, some mixing, rings, some clogging from PAMs, Plonk, and my beloved Quadra. A Pico DSP, I don't use it that much. Some of this stuff is gonna move out soon. Warps, and this combo over here that I love a lot. The Penrose quantizer and the CVP from Manhattan Analog. So basically this is like I/O and some clogging, and you could say the rings is a voice, and I think sometimes of warps as a voice. So the lower left is some control, a joystick that I love so much, and this latches from ADAC that I use for muting stuff, and it's paired with the teletype. And my 301, I have 2 expanders here for the teletype, so it's I2C on the back. 2 Pico VCOs here, and a Bifago folder, and a wasp filter. So this is basically the main case, and the others are not. I don't think it's important really to talk too much about them. But in general, I would say, in the beginning, I tried a lot of different ways of placing modules, and I just pretty soon stuck with the idea of by function. So this is like oscillators, some VCAs, modulation in general over here, filters and low pass gate, some I/O here, the Rainmaker and some CV recording here, the Monsoon, which is pretty new, and some drums here. So this is like percussive area and effects, and that's basically the same for all the cases. So In this case, I have some oscillators here, triggers modulation here, a bit modulation here. This is some old drum modules and some filters here. Yeah, basically the same here. A voice, some voices, and yeah. So group by function. That's me.
Okay, so but the case on your lower left side, that you would actually be able to go out with that solo and perform some
that's
live.
possible. Yeah,
Okay.
I played the Louisiana thing last summer with this case only.
All right.
Yeah.
It also seemed we can see that it's really busy patching wise than compared to the other cases.
Yeah. So when I patch at home, and a lot of the stuff that I really need, like the teletype and the 301, is here in the main case, and then I just pull functions from all the other cases at will. So that's not. It's like more like a library. I think of it. Maybe the whole thing is a library, but yeah.
So do you have a preferred method when you patch your stuff up? So how do you approach? Do you start with a blank case and then patch something up, or do you have preferred things that are already always patched up?
No, the only thing that I always patch up are these 8 connections from the latches to the teletype, and the idea is that it's like high, low on 8 wires like this. You can see it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. And they go into the triggers in the teletype, so it's high or low in the, it's a long story with the teletype if you don't know teletype. But anyway, the idea is that I can mute stuff, control stuff here, and interpret them over here on the teletype as muting. So now the bass drum, for instance, is supposed to be muted, like that. So that's the only thing that is always patch up. Everything else is out all the time between patches.
Well, maybe we could have a listen to what you have patched up now, and you can talk a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah. So I try not to start a patch the same way all the time. This one started with this thing, which is basically an experiment on the 301 that went a bit sideways, but I kind of like this clicky thing that you hear now.
It sounds a little bit like your phone when it's too close to a speaker in the studio, right?
Yeah, it's a sample that is just skipping around in the playback kit. So then I took it. Then I added some stuff. I did some melodic stuff. The rings is like this. And then something that I didn't try before. I just sampled this bass drum and found out that it was actually tuned to a C. So I used this for the bass note S as the kick also. So it's just a sample that is just been transposed. It's playing on the 301.
So there's a question, what's the name of the module that makes the clicky sounds, the sample things?
301.
But
it's a 301.
301. Okay.
Yeah. The 301 is a long story and it can do a lot of things, but it's basically a raw player. I had problems with the shift. I didn't manage to get the shift thing going, and I asked on the forum, and people said, yeah, you have to do this and you have to do this. So the whole thing started with me trying this to get it to work, and I couldn't get it to work, but it misbehaved in a way that I actually liked. This clicky thing. I kind of liked this as a percussive thing, so then took it from there. And the next thing I added was these hi-hats.
It's pretty groovy, yeah.
You hear the hi-hats?
Yeah.
No hi-hats.
What are you doing with the joystick out at the left?
Give me a second. I think something is a bit off here. Ah, I see. Ah, there we are. Yeah, with the joystick. So joystick is basically 2 voltages. Or actually, it's also input. I almost never use the input. So for me, it's just like a voltage, low, high, and the same this direction. And this is just so far. This is just a sketch. So I'm not finished with that's things that I add through the process, like interaction with the patch. So normally I have it set this way that to the left, you could say the patch runs normal, and to the right, some skipping or some taking stuff out starts to happen. So this is most apparent, I think, on the hi-hat. If I pull this one, so no hi-hats.
It's pretty smart.
And then it's like I would say 90% of them are hitting now. Over here, very few. And in this particular, I have the snare inverted. So if I'm over here, it's all hi-hats and no snares, and over here it's the other way around. So actually, there's no way for me to have full-on snare and hi-hat in this patch. But I kind of like this. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's actually, so there's a question from Solo Hayes who asks you how do you control the setup and if you use a computer. And I know you don't. You use primarily the teletype, right?
Yeah.
To control the whole setup.
Yeah, I'm in desperate need of an input expander. I have one I'm supposed to be building any day now, but so the only input you really have on the teletype is the knob, and then you have the input jack, and the x-axis here is going into the input jack. So that is like in the teletype you get a value. In this case, I'm converting it to a number between 0 and 100. So 0 over here and 100 over here. And then I can do stuff with it in the teletype. Lots of different, I mean, everything in the teletype. You can look at this number and say, how do I process what I'm processing and taking this number into account. So besides, the teletype is basically a lot of something is pretty static and something is very generative and something is in between, running more or less on its own. And then I have these mutes that I can take stuff out. So now it's yeah, maybe it's clearer if I just if you give me 2 minutes later and I can play a bit around and try to build something. Yeah.
Let's try to end off with a couple of minutes from each of you guys. Maybe there was one question that I think we haven't got an answer to. So what voice module is your favorite? It's a question from Solo Higgs again.
I don't really have that many voice modules.
No.
As a matter of fact, I think I only have one, and this is this frequency central product that I really think is the only thing I think of as a voice. So that's my favorite because it's my only.
That's good.
Yeah, I like it. It's one oscillator, so you cannot get these fat detuned stuff. But yeah, you can always. It's still modular. It's like modules that are from frequency central, just behind one panel. So you can obviously just add. I did do that sometimes, of course, to add other oscillators and stuff like that.
I think there's a lot to dive in there, and also it's really intriguing the way you use the teletype and the way you set the whole thing up. Maybe just to finish off. So when you do a lot of live performances with this gig, and how do you approach making the whole thing live? So is it by controlling? So how would you go about handling your modular live?
Well. I found over the more I work with this stuff that I really need to be able to have stuff that I can pull things out on knobs that really make sense, and not just the filter knob, but like for instance, I have this static skipper over here, and right now there are two triggers for my pico drums running through them. So I have two knobs here that really like allows me to lower the activity or put more activity on these two drums. Yeah, stuff like that. And in this particular patch, the only really knob I use on the plunk is the decay knob, because you have this hi-hat thing. Sounds like this. It's not on quarter notes. Oh, it's not on quarter notes. I'm not sure what is happening at this moment, but there we go. It's a bit buggy, this patch. As is my teletype programming, but yeah. So you're gonna see me if I'm gonna do 2 minutes later. There are various points in the patch, like I think of them as entry points, where I can like touch the thing, and some things I wouldn't necessarily touch, like the monsoon over here. It's pretty much just set up with a lot of random input and stuff happening, and I wouldn't necessarily touch that in a live situation. But I know various things, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 entry points where I can like grab stuff, and that's a part of the building the patch. And also when I'm gonna perform it, like I was talking about my YouTube channel, my humble YouTube channel, I have to practice, and maybe I do a take. Yeah, and I don't really like it. The flow is not really good. The form is messed up, or it doesn't really feel good. I have to do another take, because I don't overdub. I don't edit anything. It's all
live.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well,
so sometimes I get to this point where I perform, and I realize, man, I need to be able to interact with the thing more, and then I work some more on it, and find stuff that I really like, to be able to take it in different directions and stuff like that. Yeah, if it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Cool. Thanks. We'll come back to a roundtable thing. I'm gonna add Konstantin in hello, dude. So let's see how I'm still. So Konstantin, you are. We had this. Let's see if I can share my screen. You're doing a lot of collaborations, and you actually also are. I mean, taking a look at your Instagram, there's a lot of interesting modules. But yeah. So your approach to modulars is different than Addis. You don't have any sound givers in your cases usually, right? Or what? I mean, can you take us over your thoughts about that?
So a quick, okay. So yeah. I have a weird history with modular. I got into modular at some point a long time ago, and I put it on the side because it couldn't exactly do what I was interested in. And I created a big pseudo modular case, which comprised of a lot of MIDI stuff, which was like a bunch of sequencers. Each one was very basic sequencer, but the combination of all these sequencers gave me a lot of options to work and do weird stuff. And then I don't remember when, but Dopefer came up with the A192-2, where it was a CV to MIDI module. And I just bought one of those, put it in the case, and all of a sudden, with just one module, I could do crazy sequences using CV to MIDI. And then I got back into Eurorack strongly this time, and I started getting into all the ideas of doing CV to MIDI, because I really think the powerful part of Eurorack and modulars is sequencing, not sound design. So and at some point, fast forward, I'm having a discussion with Heinbach, and he says, dude, you have a very big system. Why don't you break it down into smaller parts? So ever since then, I just have like a bunch of smaller cases, each one dedicated to a very specific thing. So the one that I'm going to show you today is a very particular case that is, let me just switch. You can probably see my modular grid for this specific case.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, fine.
And as you can see from the title, it's just meant for piano stuff. So the main thing here is these two modules, which are both CV to MIDI modules, and the rest is just there to accommodate the craziness and just send signals here. There is a specific philosophy to the modules I've chosen here, but the core thing is these two, both of which are CV to MIDI modules. Do you want me to go over the case?
Yes, let's see it.
Okay, so actually, before, like, this is the overview. Instead of that, how about I play for a couple of minutes with the actual live case, and then we can just I can unpatch the whole thing, and we can actually see the how each thing is on the live case instead of looking at modular grid. Does it sound good?
That's a good idea. Let's do it.
Let's just do a very quick switch.
Amazing. That was cool, Konstantin. Are you back on the mic?
I'm back on the sound thing.
The
So
famous
that
sound.
was a very quick and it's very simple demonstration. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, perfect. So that was a very quick and very basic demonstration of what this case can pull off. So
It's
so the basic idea of this case is, as I said before, like everything is centered around these two. This is a very fairly new module I worked on with Sandrine from SDS Digital called the Melisma. It's a polyphonic CV to MIDI, which can play chords. All the chords that you heard were coming from this one. And then this is the VCMC from the FACO, a very nice module that came out fairly recently, which can do up to 8 or more, actually, if you mess about with it, up to 8, but let's say 8 voices of CV to MIDI at the same time, or CC messages or whatnot. So these are the 2 core modules, and then I have a very small control section here. This is the ADAC 306, which I worked on with Andre. It's a very nice module with a small slider here. You can see here that it's you can probably still hear the chords playing whenever.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah.
Which is controlling a switch, the SSM matrix switch from WMD. And I also got this nice module from Dansk Modular, which is just a small slider with control buttons. So 2 gates and a small slider. This is also, I just got this very recently, super new, but it's nice.
What does it do? Does it just output voltage, or?
So this one, you mean?
Yeah, the mutant module.
Yeah, so this one is a 2 HP module with 2 gate buttons. So you would have 2 gates, 1 and 2 here, and then a CV control, which you can switch between on the back. You have the option of going negative voltage. Weirdly enough, it goes either from -10 to 0, or from 0 to 5 or 0 to 10.
Okay, cool.
There's no option to do -5 to 5, according to the manual. So, so since we went there, so I have 2 LADIC modules here. The Composer G and the Gatsby. Gatsby is a very nice, I didn't use it here. It's a absolutely lovely module that does trigger to gates. Super nice to have. Composer G is a random sequencer that can create patterns of gates. This is the expander to the SSM, which is a very nice expander to have. A gate delay by Maleco. Logica XT module from Clavis for Logic, Befaco Burst, Composer N, also by LADIC, which does note random notes. A very lovely module from Marble Physics, which is the ADAC 503. This is fairly old by URAC standards, where each week brings something new, but this is a very, very nice module. It actually replicates the bounce of a ball inside a tray. Stages, Clip Diaz, very clever module by Noise Engineering. Your basic clock from 2HP. Probably the best clock I've seen in URAC, for I'll explain why. A custom version of 4MS, the RCD, which I have right here, and this is a custom version which I call the OCD. They released, I think it was back in 2014. I could be wrong. I don't remember the date. When they first introduced the RCD, they came with an alternative firmware for this, and it's just it's more or less the same thing. It just counts up until 8 with each clock, and only one output is active at a time. But you can also CV control whether the pulses are going up or down. An R2R, which is a digital to analog converter module. This is from DPW. It's a dual comparator module. This is Planks, which is frames from Mutable Instruments, but a smaller version and upside down. A small sequencer from Noise Engineering called the Mimetic Digitalis, a very clever module. Another old module, the Quantimeter. I've talked about the Melisma, VCMC, and then a custom module, which is a quad track and hold module, which is just manual. So like 4 inputs, 4 outputs, and you can hold the value of the incoming CV and just freeze it there, as long as the switch is on this side. So that's basically it.
You haven't, so you haven't patched up your stages, and we actually have a question from Thijs. asking a little bit about stages. How would you use that if you used it in a patch? So
for me, stages did it come out in 2018? I think, right?
yeah.
Okay. So for me, stages was the best module to come out in 2018 in terms of the way the module, the UI and the UX of the module. So the user interface and the user experience of using the module. For me, was one of the best modules that came out that year. It's super easy to patch and do different stuff. So the functionality, the fact that you can do envelopes or sampling holds or gate delays or CV delays, it's just super nice to have in such a case. So that in a 6U case, this is indispensable. You can do so much stuff. Like I could, things from the top of my head, patch an ADSR or a different envelope that would control the velocity or the volume of the sound that I'm sending out into MIDI. Because MIDI, usually you control the velocity, but what happens if you, at the same time, you plug a CC control to control the volume? And then on a percussive note, you actually can start controlling the velocity, the volume of that sound. Or on a continuous note, all of a sudden you have changes in the, like a VCA. Can you even do what's the term for that? Low pass gates on MIDI? Maybe you can. Or a sampling hold. You can sample other levels of CV that are coming from different modules, and then get that, and then output that voltage at a different point in time.
Wow. So it's worth the extra HP to have the stages in there.
Definitely. And worst case scenario, it's like a 6-step sequencer with slew. So yeah, it's a multi-tool. It's and the nice thing, it doesn't really have any deep menu diving at all. It's just up to you and how you self-patch it or you patch it inside your system. So it's just lovely. Let me just show you a very quick, like just by doing this very quick thing, which is I'm just removing all, actually, since we have a few minutes, let's just remove all the cables. Can you still hear my voice? Because I'm a bit further away from the microphone.
Yeah. Well, seems fine.
So that you can see the modular system more clearly. Just the fact that I can do this absolutely brilliant thing, which is, can you see that? I just love this thing. The fact that I can just send one single pulse and then get events happening at a different time is just brilliant. If you want to open up your system, stages is a very nice way of interacting different things. Just a single pulse, and then all of a sudden you can have events happening at different points inside your system. Super nice.
Super cool. So I know that your latest module, or it might not be the latest module, but a recent favorite of yours is the Melisma, right? So could you give us just a couple of minutes intro to everything it does? It actually even has your name on it, right?
Yeah. My humble name. Yeah. The K on the bottom.
Part of your name, right?
Yeah. So the K here is me. I work with Sandrine. So take the fact that I'm obsessed with this module with a grain of salt. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't do justice. The screen is nice, and it has a nice screensaver. I don't know if you can probably see it. Yeah, where it can start showing notes and stuff like that. So this is a polyphonic CV to MIDI module, as I mentioned before. You can set the root note, the chord type. That's not the right term, but you understand what I'm saying. Chord type, the inversion, the spread, which is like how instead of having all the notes playing on the same time, you can spread them out like you would strum on a guitar, so the notes wouldn't sound exactly on the same time. You can define the velocity, a CC message, and then you can expand the notes on the keyboard, and you can do all crazy stuff like the arpeggiations that you heard at the same time. It's pretty crazy what you can do. And Sandrine, who is the genius behind SDS Digital, she just opened up the module with tons of different stuff, like another voice for the left-hand bass playing, crazy things where one thing influences the other, or like you have lists of chords that you can predefine inside. Instead of controlling it with CV, you can just send gates and it will just go through your list, or in your list can be of different size, the root notes and the chord types. It gets super crazy. I was there at every step of this module's creation, and it still blows my mind when I use it.
It's awesome. So I'm gonna bring Ada back in. So we'll all three be here. So I think the very interesting thing about the Melisma is also that it actually outputs MIDI, right?
Yeah.
And there seems to be more and more MIDI going on within the Eurorack cases. So what are your thoughts about that?
Is that question for?
That's for you, Konstantin.
Yeah. Okay. I'm super happy about that. So I don't remember the manufacturer name. There was this guy, I think it was Fox something. He created controllers, MIDI controllers, and he came up. It was the first time I run into someone using a simple TRS jack to control MIDI. Now it's a standard. There was a small fight between Korg and Arturia, who's gonna have the main thing. Let me just bring this up, maybe it'll be easy. So a TRS. So that's all it takes to send MIDI messages. And I just absolutely love the fact that now you can just patch a cable between stuff, and you can send polyphonic information without having to rely on the bulky DIN. There's people that absolutely love DIN, but personally, I don't see why we have to. Befako went with DIN for here, but there's a nice solution from a TRS to DIN from, I don't remember the name of this company, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. I should do this.
RetroKids, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Retro, yes. They are absolutely lovely. They make these super nice, and you can switch between the different types of TRS mapping. And super cheap. Just replace all your DIN with these, and then patch everything with cables, and you have a big modern studio.
That is true. So Ada, do you have any MIDI going on in your rack?
No, I don't have any MIDI. I have my Micro Freak down here, and it's just normally it's just played by hand because it only has MIDI input. I don't have any MIDI output, so I just play with my hand. And over here, I have a Behringer SH101 copy, which has CV in. So in this particular patch, it's playing the melody.
Okay. So you're not really utilizing any MIDI in your rack?
No. On the other hand, I would say I'm just amazed of the power of I2C. So three small jumper cables between the teletype and the 301, and you have 100 trigger connections and 100 CV connections virtually behind the screen, behind the scene, or what you would say, behind the panel here. Yeah.
So for you, you're more of an I2C or I2C.
Yeah, I only have these two modules with this.
Okay.
In a way, you could say that these two modules are pretty boring because it's digital and it's like working with the menu diving. And I'm not really a menu diving kind of guy, but I think of these two guys as the memory of my system. So everything else is like old dub for VCOs and stuff like that. But if you want to play like a show and you want to play 5, 10 songs or textures that are different, it's very, 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 very hard if you have a system without any memory. So at one point I was thinking about getting a Digitakt, but yeah, I decided to go for the 301 instead. So that's how I think of these two guys.
Yeah. So you approached the whole live situation by having some points of interactions, like places where you can actually grab stuff and move it around. So I didn't get to ask you, Konstantin. So what is your actually approach for the live elements in your sets?
Before I answer that, I just wanted to point out that these two, so I got influenced by Ate a lot, and these two modules are going to get replaced by a teletype module. And I'm currently, to the best of my knowledge, because I haven't delved into, I understand what it does, but I haven't delved that much in the background elements of the teletype. But it doesn't support MIDI in the backend. They tried to do it via the USB connection on the back, but they stopped. But like at least one of the software developers for it, he stopped doing that. But I actually contacted him and asked whether he'd like to work on it again, so we can connect the teletype with the melisma, because the melisma has a MIDI input on the back, and it would be nice to just have the teletype and make a what was the term for that? It wasn't sketch. It was, anyway, make a small program on the teletype and be able to control all of the functions in the melisma at the same time.
Yeah.
But in terms of live, sliders. Yeah, you can see here sliders, more sliders.
And why sliders? Why not just knobs?
So the things that I like the most are sliders, because it's super easy to display a lot of them at the same time, and it's easy to see exactly the point where they're at, even on a dark situation. And the other, I really find them far more playable compared to knobs. As you can see, I'm a blasphemer, so I change all my knobs into micro knobs so that I won't hit them during a live session and knock them out of position. It's like more of a set and forget thing here. And then what I really, really like, and I can't stress the importance, is switches. So stuff like the matrix right here, the fact that you can switch things on and off is just super important for live, because you can go back and forth between specific situations. It's like you just go from A to B and back to A, and super nice to have switches for live.
Okay, cool. Right, so there's a question. So you, from Thijs again. So what sequencer would you guys recommend for performing? And you have very different approaches, both of you. So Eddie, you've tried, for instance, I think the Beatstep Pro as a bass area. Now you've moved on to the teletype.
And I had the Eloquence also.
Also the Eloquence.
Yeah, I had a dual Beatstep Pro setup at one point. First I had one, then I had the Eloquencer, and then a dual Beatstep Pro setup. Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of odd meters, and some of my music is very, very almost childishly simple, but some parts are like making some sequences not really like me at all. I mean, stuff like, for instance, the patch here is like 18 16th notes to the bar, so I don't know what you call that, 4.5 quarter notes or something. So, and stuff like that, I'm just really crazy about that, and being able to have certain parts have different length and modulate, and like, and the teletype is the first sequencer I ever tried that, yeah, I say this often, but it doesn't tell me how to think about my music. It just asks what do you want to do, and I just like it so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Konstantin? Did you have a sequencer you would recommend?
I have a few sequencers in URAC format. Actually, I have a lot. I love sequencers, and but it really depends. If I want to be very honest about that question, it really depends on the type of music you want to play. There's very powerful multi-track sequencers right now there, and if you're like Ate and you want to think outside the grid a lot, maybe even those powerful sequencers won't do for you. But I've found that I can see the Silson Hammer Mark II On another case, I have graphic sequencers from STG. A very, very nice, fairly old, the Modcan Touch sequencer is a very powerful sequencer. If you're into it, it has a touch screen, but you don't have to do too much menu diving. It's very powerful. You should look into that. But for me, the more I do sequencing, the more I go back into very, very basic modules that can do stuff like, because I get bored with 8 or 16 steps very easily. I like my melodic sequences to be larger than that. So, for instance, this is a passive module, which is a digital to analog converter. So the more inputs that are turned on, if you send gates, it will change the voltage at the output. And if you plug the RCD into it, then you have different combinations of all the clock stuff going in here, and then you can have like 32-step sequences. Okay, maybe you can specifically define the notes, but you can pass them through a quantizer, and then everything is quantized, and you can get melodic sequences from there. But it really depends on the type of music you want to make. So many options out there.
I agree. So my personal favorite that now is actually out is the Pyramid Squab. The Squab Pyramid, yeah, I like it. So it's very involved, and you can actually but it's, I mean, you can spend a lot of time getting to know this kind of do. The great thing about it is that you can do almost the same as you would be able to do in a computer or a DAW, but without having to bother with all the other computer stuff. So I like that one actually a lot. But it's out of the box, yeah. But there is more and more options out there in the scene. That's for sure. So cool. But, so we still have a few minutes. So maybe this is tongue-in-cheek questions. But you guys, why even bother with modular? So why did you go that way at it? For you, why did you start that?
Yeah, as you mentioned in the beginning, I come from a piano playing background, and there's nothing wrong with the piano. I love playing the piano, and I think that is really nice about the piano is that everything that is possible with the instrument is just right there in front of you, and it's just up to me and my ability to be able to grab the piano in a way that expresses what I'm trying to do. And when I first discovered the new wave of Eurorack modules, I kind of envisioned that if I just practiced hard enough, I would be able to control this instrument in a similar way, if that makes sense. So it's the whole interface thing for me, because I've been playing so many live gigs, electronic music, and it's just horrible for me, it was a horrible experience to sit with a computer and then kind of like an interface where I planned out stuff, and it was always something that I wanted to be able to grab or interact with or change or something. Yeah, stuff like you can just pull a cable and it's everything is up for grabs.
It's the tangible thing where you can interact with the electrons in your patch somewhere. Cool.
Yeah,
how about you, Konstantin? You talked a little bit. Konstantin talked a bit about you were first in modular, got bored with it, but got back in when you discovered the ability to control sequences, right?
Yeah, I've never played with a laptop live, and I barely I know how to use some of the software that's out there. I've been a Reason fan for a long time, mostly because it looks like hardware. But when I first dipped my feet into the sound world, it was through noise music and power electronics. So I'm a hardware dude at heart. I started with pedals and stupid oscillators from, which are actually, it's super funny because now everyone is using like these huge oscillators, like the lab stuff, instead of these small modules, which is fantastic. But the first thing that I ever had that made a sound was a big oscillator that a colleague at the university, a professor, at the university built for me because I was in a lab and I said, what does this do? And it was an oscillator. And I said, can you build me one? Can you build me one? And I got a delay pedal and I put that in. And then I was just making stupid noises with the delay pedal and the oscillator. So yeah, I started with hardware and I've never considered using a computer for this stuff.
Okay. So I was thinking we're getting close to 1 hour. So a final trick or a tip from any of you guys, and I think then we can end off with Ade giving us a demo for a couple of minutes of his live rig. So a favorite trick or tip from you, Konstantin. I know, for instance, you told me some clever uses of the switch that you have in the top right corner of your case, and some clever uses of that you might be able to share.
Well, the thing that I would say if I had to choose one trick and one trick only is just feedback everything. Okay. That's beautiful. Honestly, that's one of the biggest perks of modular system or Max MSP or stuff that you can patch any way you want. I would just say just feedback everything with everything else. It will just bring your case. It will become a live beast that you have to tame and just point to the direction and it will just go its own way sometimes. And I just think it's just beautiful. So like if you clock your sequencer, using a clock and that clock can be CV controlled, send one of the CV outputs of the sequencer back into the CV. Maybe you will have to attenuate to just find the sweet spots. But then the change of the notes will change the speed of the clock, and it just opens things up beautifully.
Wow, nice. But also, I imagine complex, difficult to manage, right?
Yeah, the more feedback that you have, it's difficult to manage. But this specific system was built around this idea that you would be able to feedback different things, and most of the modules kind of push you in that direction. Like the Befaco burst, it outputs burst, but then it also has CV inputs, and then it also has an end of cycle thing. Why not put that back into whatever it's using to burst this one? I don't know.
Of course. Yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks, Konstantin. How about you, Ade? A final trick?
Yeah, you're gonna see me do something like this a lot. And that's a patch. I first did it on the rings like years ago, and I just loved it so much that I've been reinventing and refining the idea. And it's just, I mean, it's so simple. It's just a voltage on a knob going into a quantizer. There you have it.
Yeah, it's clever.
And then I would say, well, a lot of my music is about layers. So two things I would say is layering sound in general, like having a snare and layering it with some texture is layering on top. And that brings me to the other thing. When you have something that is, in my music at least, you have something that is random, like chaos, and it gets really, really boring really, really fast. And if you have something that is repetitive, it gets really, really boring really, really fast. So you have to really balance stuff out. Like in this unfinished thing I'm supposed to play in a few seconds, there are some things that are just like like the plunk is just going like this. And then there's a lot of things that are mixing up and all over the place. But you have to have something that is steady, and you have something that is like moving all over the place, and finding the balance there. And that's the thing with layering. So you have, maybe I have in this patch I have a very simple snare drum, but there's also layered stuff in there that are randomly generated on every hit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Let's Ed, if you can take us out with a couple of minutes demo of the big case there.
I'm gonna stand.
Just feel free.
Okay.
And thank you guys. Cool. Great stuff, Ed.
Thank you. It was, yeah.
It was glitchy, but I thought it was intentional, right? It was really cool. Right.
Yeah, I love this. The Befaco MS20 clone filter is nice for, like, you can self-oscillate in a nice way.
Cool.
Yeah, you know, the MS20 pukes in a nice way. Yeah.
It does.
So we have to. I mean, this is not to excuse myself or anything, but you really have to. When I'm finishing the patch, I really have to get to know it and what can I do with it and build some more and stuff. So just now I actually did stuff that I didn't plan or anything. There was also some points where it was just like a bit not so inspired, but there were. That's the whole thing. You have to learn what the patch can, what the instrument you just built can actually do, and then you have to play with it and see where it can go. Can I go down? Can I go up? Can I go crazy? Can I go whatever? Can I do? Yeah,
that is part of the charm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but guys, thank you for being great sports. It's been fun, at least for me, and hopefully not too terrible for you guys. Really. Cool. So I just, I mean, we had a few viewers and that was great, but no matter what, I think I learned a lot. I wanna end up the stream by also showing the Dansk Modular homepage, where you can get an idea of where we have and when we have our meetups. We can even do a Google Translate of the contents in English. So the next one is actually planned already in a couple of weeks, and as everything is looking right now, it might not be happening in real life, but maybe we can try to do something online instead, maybe even using this platform. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
That's okay. We can try to set something up, but otherwise, I'm gonna end the broadcast. Probably put it up on the YouTube channel of Dansk Modular, and with the links to you guys, like a place where we can find your stuff. So thank you guys. This was great.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening, and
same to you. And thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me. And take care and sanitize your knobs and faders all you can, right?
Right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So stay safe. Bye bye.
Thank you.
And thank you for being
Bye.
here. Bye.
Stay safe.